Well, good morning, everyone. It started cloudy and rainy, but I believe that when people come together, we can transform the cloudiness and darkness. And today I'm going to choose to be optimistic. Today I'm going to say that while Donald Trump thinks that because we're just a few days from a big holiday that people are not going to show up here and say enough is enough, I want him to know that we are never going to stop fighting for the people. And that is why the community is here on this Wednesday saying that we are going to continue to fight. And as long as we continue to fight, it'll be a good morning, good afternoon, because it is a good day to fight for the American people today. I'm Congresswoman Delia Ramirez. I represent Illinois' 3rd Congressional District, a district that is fed up with how Republicans, how Donald Trump, how Kristi Noem, how Stephen Miller, and their billionaire bosses keep putting their hands all over our services, our pockets, and our neighbors. And we're saying today, enough, basta ya. As we're approaching Independence Day, a day where we talk about freedom and liberty, but we ask ourselves, how are we talking about freedom and liberty when this president wants to imprison us with more deficit and taking away critical resources from our communities? We know that today, as we are here getting ready to vote against the oppression, the fascism, and all those things, we know that the people, what they actually send us to Congress to do is to realize a prosperous, healthy, and thriving future. One where people are not having to worry if their Medicaid is going to continue to be available for them. Today, as we stand outside the Capitol asking ourselves, how is it possible that we would be here today with Republicans who care so much more about their bosses than their own constituents? How could they care about Jeff Bezos, who just spent $50 million in Venice, but they don't give a damn if people are going to stay alive after this bill vote? And so my colleagues have said that we're going to use all of our power today to liberate us from Trump and Noem. We're going to use all our power today to vote to ensure that billionaires pay their own fair share, because it is important for people to know what's in this bill. Because you know who's left out of this bill? You know who's betrayed in this bill? It's working people. It's people of color. It's immigrants. It's women. It's people with disabilities. The exact people who have had to fight and demand every freedom, every liberty this country has denied them. The big ugly bill is just different packaging on the same old imperialistic segregationist policies our communities know so well. And listen, we know what we have to do because we've done it before. They're going to try to control our bodies. They're going to try to starve us. They're going to try to poison us and make us sick. They're going to try to use force to make us afraid. But you know what else we know? That we're going to win. It may not look like that right now, but I know that we're going to win because we have won before. We've won a right to bodily autonomy. We've won on Medicaid expansions. We've won on clean energy jobs in many states in our country, some of them bluer than others. But we know that power does not concede nothing without a fight, and that when we fight, we win. And that is why we're here today. We're saying that we're standing up, whether it is for rural families seeking health care, children seeking lunch at school, or refugees seeking asylum. Our struggles are interconnected. Our freedoms and our ability to stay together are interconnected, and our freedom and liberty can only be realized when everyone gets to have it. And we know that generations before have fought imperialism, monopolies, oligarchies, unchecked capitalism, and even wannabe kings. That is why we are here today. And that is why I'm here with a number of members of Congress who are ready to fight like hell for you. Not for billionaire bosses, not for Donald Trump, not for Secretary Noem to get more money to militarize our communities, for you. And so to talk about how they're fighting for you, they've been fighting all night, I want to introduce to you one of my colleagues who is a champion of justice and is holding the line, Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal from Washington State 7th District.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman Ramirez, and all my colleagues who are here today, all the advocates who have been on the front lines of this struggle to say that when we fight, we win. Let's be really clear. America would not be America without immigrants. Our Statue of Liberty, that ultimate symbol of freedom, reminds us every day of this. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Nowhere does it say, send masked men to kidnap and disappear hardworking immigrants of all legal statuses. Nowhere does it say, violate the Constitution and the courts by denying basic due process rights to everyone. Nowhere does it say, pass a bill that kicks 17 million Americans off of health care and 5 million Americans off of basic food assistance. All so that you can pad the profits of the billionaires and the millionaires and giant corporations, including private, for-profit prisons that incarcerate over 40,000 immigrants at taxpayer expense every day. This big, bad betrayal bill breaks every promise that our government has made to the people, that Medicaid would be there for you when you get sick, that SNAP will be there for you when you're hungry, that our country welcomes those seeking asylum, refuge, and opportunity, people who want to contribute their full selves to bettering their families and our communities. Instead, this big bad betrayal bill explodes the deficit and is the largest transfer of wealth from poor and working class Americans to the richest in our country. Just imagine $1 trillion in tax breaks going to the top 1% of Americans. They are trying to hide that from you, but let's not forget, as Congresswoman Ramirez said, that this is all interconnected. This bill also supercharges ICE's efforts to send those masked men into our streets and our communities everywhere, to kidnap and disappear immigrants of all legal statuses, including U.S. citizens, people with legal visas, and those with no criminal record. And for the first time ever, it imposes a fee on asylum seekers, people who are fleeing their home countries for violence and political persecution and are coming here with literally nothing but the clothes on their backs. This is a cruel, disgusting bill. We all voted hell no the first time. We are all voting hell no this time, and we will continue to stand up for the rights and the freedoms of every person in the United States of America, even as Republicans try to strip our freedoms away from us. Right. Hell no. Hell no. Hell no. And now it's my honor to introduce my dear friend and colleague from the great state of Texas, Congresswoman Veronica Escobar.
Thank you, Camilla. Buenas tardes, everyone. Buenos dias. I guess we're about to enter afternoon. Thank you all for being here. I am so incredibly proud to be standing with these great champions for all Americans. My colleague and my friend Pramila Jayapal from Washington talked about a facet of this hideous abomination of a bill that frankly has not gotten enough attention. Yesterday, J.D. Vance chose to highlight this component of this ugly bill, and that is the incredible investment that we are seeing of your tax dollars in the mass deportation system. And it is such an abomination that I think not enough people know about, that I'm going to take a couple of minutes of time right now to tell you about it. But Donald Trump, Stephen Miller, and Kristi Noem are monetizing hate. How are they doing that? They are, in this bill, they will be receiving $80 billion for their mass deportation program. $80 billion. Imagine how many people could get health care with that money. Imagine how many people could get access to nutrition programs with that money. Imagine how much good could be done with that money. But that money, a little bit more than half of that, about $45 billion, will go to supercharging that private for-profit immigration detention system. And that means an 800% increase in federal immigration detention. Did you know that the United States of America already has the largest immigration detention system in the world? We already do. It is going to grow by 800% because of this bill. So we are going to see more people being chased through agricultural fields, more people being detained in the hospitality industry, more people being disappeared in this country because of this bill. And they're not the only ones, these private corporations are not the only ones benefiting. Guess who else is? The people who are trading stocks like Stephen Miller and monetizing the policy that they are creating. This is all a grift, and it is a way to monetize hate. And we stand united, not just against the hate that is fueling this ugly, hideous abomination of a bill, but the hate that these people in the White House are monetizing. We need your help to tell the American people what's in this. There are still far too many Americans who do not understand that Republicans are taking their health care to help enrich billionaires and to fuel and monetize this system of hate in America. We're not going to stand for it. We need all of you to stand with us to defeat this. And now it is my privilege to introduce my great colleague, the gentlewoman from California, Judy Chu.
Hello, I'm Congressmember Judy Chu from California's 28th District. And I'm proud to stand with all my colleagues in opposition to Donald Trump and Republicans' big, bad betrayal. This bill is a betrayal for all of the constituents we were elected to serve. And it goes out of the way to continue this administration's vilification of immigrants. On June 6th, Donald Trump started these massive raids in Los Angeles, terrorizing hundreds and thousands of immigrants. And on one day last week, masked immigrant agents jumped out in Pasadena on Los Robles Boulevard in front of the Winchell's Donut. They did not identify themselves, but they snatched away 6 immigrants that were simply trying to get to work. A crowd gathered, and one young man tried to take a picture of the license plate of one of the cars. And that masked ICE agent jumped out and pointed a gun ready to shoot that young man dead. How about that? That's how far they were willing to go. And their family, sick with worry, asked me to go down to the Metropolitan Detention Center to find out what was going on with their beloved family member. I went down there, and guess what? They refused to let me in, even though it's my right to go in there and inspect the facilities. Shame on them. Shame. But we know what Donald Trump is doing. We know that part of his big, bad, ugly bill is the vilification of immigrants. And we know that his bill is aimed to make immigrants and all Americans suffer. He wants to make 1 million children at risk of going hungry because of something completely out of their control, not having a Social Security number. This bill will strip Medicaid, Medicare, and SNAP coverage from people who are here lawfully, refugees and survivors of domestic violence and human trafficking. So this is who Donald Trump and Republicans are targeting, not criminals like they claim, but children who will go to sleep hungry and people whose only crime was seeking safety in our country. And it takes funding away for the most vulnerable and puts it into an ineffective border that will give ICE more than 13 times their current funding to detain immigrants, and undermines regulations that will ensure that children aren't stuck in detention interminably. But we're not going to stand for it. No, we are. We are fighting back. Trump is trying to use this intimidation to silence us, but we will use our voices and our votes today to say to this big, ugly bill a big, fat hell no!
Hell no!
And next, I would like to call up from the state of Vermont, our incredible Congress member, Becca Balint.
We're here because Republicans are okay with gutting Medicare, taking health care away from nearly 20 million Americans, taking food away from hungry kids. We're here because they're okay with closing rural hospitals, adding billions of dollars to the ICE budget and trillions of dollars to the deficit, allowing the rich to get even richer off of our backs. This is not what the American people want. This is not what they asked for. So no, Mitch McConnell, we will not just get over it. We won't get over continuing high drug prices. We won't get over having no health care. We won't get over not being able to feed our kids. No, we're not going to get over it. Americans want a fair shot for themselves, for their kids, for their grandkids. They want a tax code that doesn't screw us over. They want health care across America, even in rural areas. They want to see us fighting for a better life for their families. They want us to put working people over profits and over the extremely wealthy, to put the environment over corporate greed. They want fairness. That's what they want. They want fairness. That's why we're out here today. And this bill puts that farther and farther out of reach for so many Americans. Instead of alleviating the suffering of millions of people, they are adding to it. That's what they're doing. That is their vision for America. It's going to make us poorer, it's going to make us sicker, and it's going to continue to rig the economy against working people across this country.
That's right.
And you know it, all we need are 4 Republicans. 4 Republicans to come to their senses and stand with their people. That's what they're asking. We're asking them to stand with their own people. They are betraying working people across this country. They are betraying the middle class, and we cannot give them cover. Just 4. That's all it will take. So look, it's dark. What's happening in here today is very dark. But all of us out here, we are hopeful people. We continue to strive for a better world because we are the ones we've been waiting for. We will make it happen. And in the end, we will prevail because we know the American people are with us. Thank you so much. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Maxine Dexter, MD, from Oregon's 3rd. I was like, you're from Maryland?
You're not the only one who's done that. Good morning still. I really appreciate the hopeful message that we all have. We cannot give up. I am the Congresswoman from Oregon's 3rd, and I can tell you my constituents have not given up. I'm getting calls, I'm getting emails. We have to stand together to fight this tragedy of a bill. I came to Congress to build a better future. I stand on the precipice of privilege because the government invested in me and my working family to give me opportunity. But today we are forced to defend the most basic standard of human decency. This big, ugly betrayal bill is an all-out assault on immigrants, on families, and on the values that define us as Americans. And let's be clear, this border bill, as it may stand, doesn't fix our immigration system. It doesn't offer solutions. Instead, it supercharges cruelty, allocating some $150 billion to fund a vast machine of detention, deportation, and militarization. And just take this. The bill earmarks $45 billion for ICE jails, for-profit institutions, including Trump's dystopian alligator Alcatraz. That's over 13 times, yes, boo! It's over 13 times ICE's current detention budget. It funnels $30 billion into expanding ICE enforcement with zero oversight or accountability. And people in my community are scared. I know everyone across this country is scared, and that's the point. They win when they intimidate us and instill fear in us. So we have to fight back.
I'm honored to partner with Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett to introduce an amendment that was voted down last night banning ICE agents from wearing masks and going without identity. You don't know who's rounding you up. We don't know. And if you're doing the government's work, you should not be shamed. You should have your face out there and your officer number out there because you're doing your duty. But that's not what they're doing. They're being cruel. They are breaking the law and they're undermining all of our rights. I'm here to say that this bill is a betrayal. I'm going to stand with my community, with my Congress members, and we are going to fight like hell. As the remarkable Becca Ballant just said, we only need 4 people to find their courage. So let's push hard, let's not give up hope. And with that, I hand it over to, to Lou Correa, from Texas.
Good afternoon, everyone. You feeling warm?
Yeah.
Feeling warm? You sweating? Let's keep the hard work going. Congressman Correa, Orange County, California. I'm going to ask you all a question. What happened? What in God's name happened? January, full employment, inflation under control. People had access to health care. Fast forward today. Just saw a report. The economy's slowing down. California's slowing down. That can't be good for Main Street. Talk about immigration. Immigration is not about immigrants. Immigration is about America. How many here are patriots? How many love this country? We all do. Food security is national security. How in God's name do we get there? By making sure farm workers are not picking our crops and those crops are rotting. I don't understand what is going on. A lot of bad things here. But just remember, that $3.4 trillion debt, like my Republican colleagues, some of them said, the bill got uglier. And that debt is a transfer of wealth to the people getting the tax cuts, to the younger generations. You're going to have to pay for that for generations to come. Don't give up the fight. We have maybe 1 vote, possibly 3 votes. You got to keep pushing hard. Our nation depends on it. Thank you very much.
It is hot. We're sweating here. But you know what? It is worth it for the constituents that we represent, because for us, this is a very small thing we do in standing up every day to Donald Trump on behalf of our people. Someone that stands up every breathing moment, who is with us here. She's been here enduring that sun now for the last 30 minutes. It is our Congresswoman from Massachusetts. I said Minnesota, we're hot. Ayanna Pressley.
Thank you, Delia. You know, a moment ago there were some hecklers here, and they were cheering on every time we invoked Donald Trump or J.D. Vance's name. They were cheering them on and clapping for them. I wish they were still here so that I could tell them, I will pray for you. And myself and my colleagues are fighting hard to defend you. You have been deeply betrayed. The only thing that the occupant of the Oval Office, this fascist dictator, white supremacist in chief, is doing is equal opportunity harm. Nothing will save anyone from the harm that is coming if this bill becomes law. Rural communities, yeah, Mima, Pawpaw, Junebug. Urban communities, Big Mama, all our cousins. Everyone will feel this in urban, rural, and suburban communities. So I want them to know that we're fighting hard to defend everyone from this harm, because this will be a tsunami of hurt. Thank you to my sister in service, Congresswoman Delia Ramirez, for convening us today, and to our colleagues for speaking out in this somber moment. I'm reminded often of the words of Coretta Scott King, who said that starving a child is violence. Neglecting school children is violence.
That's right. That's right.
Ignoring medical need is violence.
Contempt for those living in poverty is violence. And let me be clear, Republicans' big, ugly betrayal of a bill is violent. It is an assault. It is an assault on working families and on every single person who calls this nation home. It would rip away health care from over 17 million people. It would deny food to hungry elders and babies. It would destroy Medicaid for babies in the NICU and patients with chronic illnesses, gut services like prenatal care, and cancer screenings at Planned Parenthood, and push critical reproductive health care further out of reach. And for what? To give billionaires even more money they do not need. Republicans are so desperate to line the pockets of their ultra-wealthy donors that they are willing to make millions of people, millions of their own constituents, poorer, sicker, hungrier, and more vulnerable, and strip them of basic bodily autonomy. This is an anti-freedom agenda, supposedly wrapped in the flag and so-called faith. It is shameful, and they are shameless. At this point, I'm running out of words to describe the harm of this bill. It is cruel, it is callous, and it is completely clueless. Clueless about the lives of everyday people, real people with real struggles and real needs. Republicans claim to be the party of God. But I don't know what God these people serve. Must be God with a lowercase g. Because as someone who grew up at the knee of my grandfather, a Baptist preacher of a small storefront church, spent my summers in the South at Vacation Bible School, I have yet to find a psalm that says, "Thou shalt make people poorer, hungrier, and sicker." But that's exactly what this bill would do if it becomes law. And we must do everything in our power to ensure that it does not. In addition to slashing resources that help people make ends meet, this bill would also shamefully fund Donald Trump's unlawful mass deportation agenda, pouring more money into ICE to terrorize our immigrant neighbors. The cruelty is the point. Let's be clear. Republicans are ramming this bill through Congress so they can move us closer to their dark, dystopian vision of Donald Trump's America, an America where billionaires thrive and everyone else suffers. An America where families are criminalized for needing food or health care, where patients are denied the care they need, and where the poor are punished simply for being poor. I represent the Massachusetts 7th, one of the most vibrant, diverse, and dynamic districts in the country, but also one of the most unequal. A district home to one of the highest concentrations of community health centers, which provide life-saving care to 1 in 3 of my constituents. A district where hospitals have already closed, and where others would be at risk of closure if this bill becomes law. Across the Commonwealth, over 320,000 people would lose health insurance. At least 103,000 could lose food assistance. Over 11,000 manufacturing and energy jobs would be cut. ACA premiums would skyrocket and energy bills would go up. Behind each number and statistic is a family, a parent, a child, an elder, a loved one, and as much as J.D. Vance may call them immaterial, these are people's lives and livelihoods. Republicans in both chambers rushed this bill through under the cloak of night. They're hiding like they always do because they still have some semblance of shame, enough to run and hide, but they still have time to reverse course. God grant me to the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. You can change this. This legislation is not inevitable. And we will continue to resist, to obstruct, and to fight with every tool to stop it in its tracks. Because as our late movement sibling, the great Cecile Richards, once said before she transitioned, the question will be asked, when everything was at stake for the country, what did you do? And the only acceptable answer will be everything that I could.
That's right.
And with that, do you want me to bring Hank along?
I think Rashida, she's been here.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Hank, yeah.
Woo! You know, it's a little detox situation going on up here. We're going to have great skin. I want to bring up my sister in service, a righteous justice seeker, Rashida Tlaib, representing the great state of Michigan.
Thank you all so much. Thank you so much to Congresswoman Ramirez for her leadership. She's absolutely right in regards to the fact that we know in here there are folks, again, profit-driven in regards to what is happening with this bill. But I want this to be very clear. You know, the president has decided on this July 4th deadline. This is a generic deadline, y'all. Has nothing, absolutely nothing to do with whether or not we need to get done right, or if they even give a shit about the people that are being impacted by this. It is nothing, there's nothing, and the president needs to know, nothing patriotic about kicking people off of Medicaid and health insurance. There's nothing patriotic. I mean, when I see that this is going to be the largest transfer of wealth from poor working people to billionaire class, when I see statistics that say the 0.1% is going to get close to $300,000 in tax breaks, while our families, again, are going to be struggling with this broken, inhumane healthcare system. You all know Medicaid is already just a Band-Aid, and they're about to rip it off. You know who's calling my office? It's not just the seniors and working class families. It is also parents of special needs children who tell me that, yes, they have insurance that helps their children survive, but Medicaid helps them thrive because of the wraparound services that Medicaid will cover, but their private insurance company doesn't. This is the stories that is completely missing. They will tell you over and over again, we're not cutting it. It's a complete lie. I'm so tired of them in there telling me. I got a media outlet in Michigan telling me that my colleague says rural hospitals are not going to close. What the hell are you reading? Who is telling you this? These are nonpartisan organizations that are telling you the truth, that hospitals will be impacted. Because we're talking about 17 million of our neighbors, all there embedded. Of course, we're talking about Medicaid and food assistance. But look what they're trying to do in making profit off of ripping our families apart. You know, in my city, I just saw them ripping our families apart, coming in, like completely like dehumanizing, vilifying my immigrant neighbors. And they're all doing it because we know, and I read Representative Escobar's op-ed, you can see how it's tied to the for-profit detention centers. You can see that it is a shift to the billionaire donors that give him money. You can see it. There's nothing beautiful about this shift or cutting people off of food. There's nothing. When you say to my residents, oh, it's only going to be $10 or $15 cut in food assistance, you tell my seniors that? That is life-changing for them because we're already giving them the bare minimum, y'all. Right. We are. And you don't get me started about the fact that they're gaslighting and misleading the general public. You know, this is not about waste. If it was, you know where there's waste? I remind them all the time, they haven't passed 7 audits in a row. But you go and increase $150 billion to the Pentagon budget? Where over what, 40% of their assets are unaccounted for? Why? Is it because that's where your war machine donors get their support? Your friend Elon Musk gets his subsidies? The Pentagon budget increases while we cut people off of health insurance. Hasn't passed 7 audits in a row. 7. So this is not about that. It's about making sure the working poor, our residents, the majority of Americans that are just trying to make ends meet. And they really are. When I see numbers, Delia, like 80% of people on Medicaid are working already. When I hear my residents call me, I mean, one is a frontline worker, and they still kick her off and on. We got to help and fight to make sure that she gets back on. They're already doing all the verification that's needed. This is all because they want to shift, because it has nothing to do with waste. If it did, they would have started in the Pentagon budget. It has nothing to do with savings, because guess what? This budget to shift for the tax breaks and giveaways for the billionaires and the corporations, I mean, Facebook not paying federal income tax? Come on, y'all. Shame. It is not about that, because they increased the deficit by over $3 trillion. This is about making money for their donors and doing it off the backs of our residents. Shame on them. Shame. And to Congressman John James, this is something I need to say. Your community, you're right there. I know for a fact every day they're in front of your office begging in wheelchairs. Some of them on breathing machines, begging you to choose them over this president. And you're excited and saying, let's go and vote for this. And you're lying to them and saying you're not going to get pushed off of Medicaid. Shame on you. We only need 4. You should be one of them, John James. You should be joining us And the Michigan delegation are standing up and saying we're going to choose, again, our residents over this president, over, again, the billionaire class. And you think you're going to become governor of Michigan? You're not going to be even near the governor's office cutting Medicaid. Shame on you for lying to the residents. And again, this is folks I've met with, and they're telling me he won't even meet with them. Shame on the folks that will not choose their residents. Shame on them. That's why you're here. But we'll show you, because we won't forget what you did. Thank you. And with that, I get is it Rob Benet?
Rob's gonna close us out.
Who is it?
Hank Johnson.
Oh, Congressman Hank Johnson, who I absolutely love and adore. I really do. Actually, Hank just looks at me, and I know he's for the right cause. Yeah. Thank you, darling.
Thank you.
You did.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Congressman Hank Johnson, representing Georgia's 4th Congressional District, and I am happy to be here with my good friend, Congresswoman Delia Ramirez. And also, I want to give a shout out to the Human Rights First organization for convening us today for this press conference. It's hot out here. I want to thank you all for being here, and I want to thank these brave souls behind me for being here. Let's give them a hand. Because they are representatives of communities that have been living in terror over the last 6 months, a particularized terror when it comes to immigrant communities. And anybody that doesn't look like a white male, anybody in a community of people who look like you all, got to be worried about getting snapped up by a band of hooded, masked people wearing camouflage, jumping out of a car and snatching you up off the street. And maybe not you, but maybe your brother or your father or your mother or your uncle. The little children terrorized, being prepared for life without a parent. That's the kind of terror that is going through neighborhoods now, watching as people who are trying to do it the right way, going to immigration court, get snapped up at immigration court, only to be deposited into a private for-profit detention facility. Shame. And where the American taxpayer is paying a private entity to house not just men, not just able-bodied women, but older men, older women, and most egregiously, children. So I was proud to introduce in this big, bad, ugly bill that we are considering today an amendment that would provide for attorneys to represent infants and 2-year-olds, toddlers, who find themselves brought before an immigration court judge in an immigration courthouse with ICE masked individuals running around rampant, snatching up people. They are in fear, a child. And then they're expected to go to court for their own immigration proceeding and argue against a government lawyer that they have a right to remain in this country for whatever the reason might be. That child does not have the right to an attorney, and so I introduced an amendment that would correct that and provide funds. But of course, the people in control, the MAGA Republicans in control, won't accept that amendment or other amendments that go to the humanity of our brothers and sisters, our children. They won't accept it because they're hell-bent on delivering a tax cut to Jeff Bezos and or Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk, and also crypto king Donald Trump himself, giving them a tax cut paid for by cutting benefits to those who need it most, the sick, the disabled, the elderly, the infants and the children. Medicaid is being cut by $1 trillion, and Medicare is being cut by $500 million. So it's going to hurt. And while you're cutting those benefits, you're adding $100 billion for immigration enforcement inside the United States of America. You're taking money from those who need it and funding these ICE operations that are terrorizing these neighborhoods and terrorizing the people that live in them. It's not right, and we need to stand against it, and I appreciate all of you all for being here today. I am a human being, and I am united in faith and love. I'm reading this sign for immigration freedom, and you should be too, because we all came to this country. We all came to this country as immigrants, and we can't allow one group of them who actually imported or enslaved people like me, people who look like me. They made us come over here, but we built the country. It's our country. You helped build it too. It's your country, and we're going to win back our country, ladies and gentlemen. July 4th is Independence Day, and it'll have a special meaning this time we celebrate. So don't be afraid. Continue to come out. Continue to protest, nonviolent, peaceful protest. And ladies and gentlemen, even though it may look bleak today, we're going to win tomorrow. So thank you. And now I'd like to bring up my colleague, Representative Ro Khanna out of California.
Thank you. I want to thank Delia Ramirez for her moral leadership on immigration and on human rights. You know, I'm a son of immigrants from India, but I'm here today to speak not about recognizing simply the human rights of immigrants, but to speak about how Trump's draconian policies are degrading the American soul and taking away freedom from American citizens. You see, now, if you're an American citizen who dares to love or befriend someone who happens to be an immigrant, you live in fear that you may be harassed or investigated. If you're an American citizen, naturalized, who thinks that they may want to go abroad to visit, you live in fear when you come back that the TSA agents may stop you and not let you in to the country of which you are a citizen. If you are an American citizen who's at work, at a restaurant, at a hotel, at a construction site, and you think you want to be decent to a coworker, to give them some water or give them some food or give them some loan, you now live in fear that this administration may deport you or detain you or harass you. And if you are an American citizen who wants to protest and engage in free speech, and you want to do so with others who are immigrants, to speak out for a cause you care about, you today live in fear that you may be arrested, that your freedoms may be curtailed. You see, I'm a student of history, and this I know. In the history of the world, free societies do not thrive when they engage in state control of immigration in a draconian way. It goes all the way back to the ancient Greeks. The Spartans and the militarized societies, they controlled their people and said, do not have immigrants amongst your mix. The Athenians, the free people on which our nation was founded, they said to the immigrant, come in, see our greatness, see our excellence, and then take that away to your lands. My friends, I believe the American people are a proud people, a free people like the Athenians. Those values are what allowed my parents to come to this country and be treated fairly. Those values are what allowed a Philadelphia-born Indian American to work hard, to be educated, and to So thank you all for being here.
I know we're hot. I know it's been sweaty, but some of us, including Ro and every one of you here, has been standing here and would probably stand here another hour or two or days if it meant that we would protect healthcare, if it meant that we'd protect nutrition for our babies, if it meant that we stopped the violation of human rights that you are seeing under this administration. So I just want to say thank you to all of you. We have just 2 more people, I think 3 more people that are going to speak real quick from the organizations, because the truth is that Ro and every member of Congress here, and we can't do this work if it weren't for you. You are on the ground protecting, holding the line for our constituents while we are fighting on the inside here. So to hear a little bit more from the people that are organizing, that are mobilizing, that are agitating, I want to introduce to you Izzy Volk from United We Dream.
Thank you, Congresswoman, and thank you all for sweating in solidarity with me.
Sweating in solidarity.
I speak to you today as a proud member of United We Dream and a student of international affairs at Georgetown University. As we speak, the Trump administration, and more specifically the House Republicans, are forging ahead with the bill they've officially named and like to affectionately call the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Let it be known, there is nothing beautiful about it. Our opposition has conflated beauty for greed, for ego, and for domination over our lives and our futures, over the lives of working people, students, parents, families, and the communities that make this country truly great. This bill would lock in another $150 billion for ICE to continue ransacking our communities. It would give tax breaks to the ultra-wealthy while working families struggle to pay for groceries and millions are left uninsured after the largest cuts in history are made to Medicaid. Let it be known that this bill is not beautiful, it is an abomination. This bill is the result of gluttony and spiritual decay.
That's right.
My friends, we are more than just the resistance to this abomination of a bill. We are the builders of the world that is to come.
That's right.
Thank you. Our opposition has built their power on lies. We must build our power on truth, and the greatest truth that I know is love.
That's right.
Love that understands our freedoms are not only interconnected, but can only be won together by and for all of us. We must reject the nihilism of this moment and choose to keep showing up for each other, despite the fear and despite the despair. We must choose to build a new world order that reveres each of our lives. Bell Hooks once wrote, "The choice to love is the choice to connect, to find ourselves in the other." We have a responsibility to uphold this true beauty, to marvel at it, to revel in it, to rest alongside it and let it fuel us. Not by dumping gasoline on it and letting it burn out quickly, but by each and every day adding kindling to the flames, increasing our light, our warmth, and our dedication to finding ourselves within each other. As Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. put it, we must match their ability to hate with our ability to love. Because there will come a day when the dust of this despotism settles, and when it does, we as a working class multiracial movement must be ready to build something truly beautiful from its ashes, something so unapologetically grounded in love that we squash any attempt to recreate our own oppression or the oppression of any of our neighbors. Our opposition is disciplined in the power of greed and division and fear, so we must become even fiercer in our discipline of love. This is a matter of life or death, and it is a choice we get to make. The Trump administration and the spineless Republicans in our Capitol have made the choice to put millions of lives on the line each day, and this bill is their most lethal weapon yet. Do not let them fool you. Our response must be a resounding commitment to life. To commit to one another in the face of such hate, we must choose love. I would like to conclude with some lyrics from Nina Simone's rendition of New World Coming, written by Barry Mann and Cynthia Weil. There's a new world coming, and it's just around the bend. There's a new world coming, and this one is coming to an end. There's a new voice calling, and you could hear it if you would just give it a try. and it's growing stronger with every day that passes by. There is a brand new morning, rising clear and sweet and free. There's a new day dawning that belongs to you and me. Yes, a new world is coming, the one that we've all had visions of, and it is coming in peace, it is coming in joy, and above all, it is coming in love. Thank you so much for listening.
Amen. I want to introduce to you now Wendy Cervantes with CLASP.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here today, and thank you, Congresswoman. I stand here today as the Director of Immigration for the Center for Law and Social Policy and also the Director of the Children Thrive Action Network, and I am also the proud daughter of Mexican immigrants and the mother of 2 young children. I'm here today for them and for the millions of children whose lives are at stake in this bill today. We've opposed this bill because it will take our country backwards on years of progress to make the American dream more attainable for all families. Because of this bill, millions of kids, citizen and non-citizen alike, in both immigrant and native-born families will go hungry, lose health coverage, and fall into poverty, all so that billionaires can get a tax break. And if that isn't outrageous enough, our taxpayer dollars will be used to turbocharge Trump's devastating mass deportation agenda. This includes more than $45 billion to jail families indefinitely in conditions that medical experts have found to be completely inappropriate for children, and nearly $30 billion to hire more ICE agents to disappear community members and to rip parents away from and kids fighting cancer without any regard to their medical needs. This bill also cruelly targets unaccompanied children, making it harder for them to reunify with their family in the U.S., allowing for their rapid return to a country they fled without the opportunity to go before a judge, and subject those in government custody to concerning physical examinations. In other words, this bill turns an immigration system that is already harmful to kids to one that ignores their humanity altogether, treating even asylum-seeking toddlers and babies as criminals, rather than deserving children that deserve compassion and at the very least due process. This bill is a betrayal to our children, pure and simple, robbing our most vulnerable of supports they need to thrive, all to benefit the wealthy and to further terrorize immigrant kids and families. This bill will set us on a dangerous path for generations of harm, which we as a country will ultimately pay the price for. Our future is at stake, our democracy is at stake, and our kids are counting on us to fight for it. So we urge House Republicans to do the right thing. We have to reject this bill. And to my fellow Americans who believe in protecting our democracy, I call on you to stand up and join us in defending our children's future. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Uzra Zayed, the President and CEO of Human Rights First and the proud daughter of Indian immigrants. As millions of Americans lose health insurance, this bill forks over more than $150 billion to supercharge the policies of grave harm we've been horrified by these past 6 months. It will fund more disappearances of people seeking asylum in our country, more masked agents in our courtrooms and our neighborhoods to detain and manhandle those following the rules to be here, as well as American citizens, American children, survivors of cancers, and American elected members of Congress. It will mean more prisons where families, including infants, can now be incarcerated indefinitely due to this big, ugly betrayal of a bill. This is a historic dismantling of legal protections that were put in place to safeguard children, refugees, and other survivors of persecution. And it marks a fundamental betrayal of our long-held commitments to humanitarian protection. The list of cruelty enacted by this bill is long, and it taxes the soul of this country. It excludes lawfully present refugees, asylees, and survivors of human trafficking and domestic violence from nutrition and health care. It gives a new $10 billion slush fund to DHS to ramp up expulsions and detention without any civil or human rights protections. And it imposes unprecedented and exorbitant fees that will prevent survivors of persecution from accessing asylum. This bill will lead to preventable deaths, put children at risk, and undermine our democracy. And to paraphrase Senator Booker, opposing this bill is a matter of right or wrong, not right or left. All members of Congress should oppose this wasteful and shameful bill. And Human Rights First will not remain silent. In standing up for immigrants, we are all standing up for Americans. We are standing up for our human rights. And let us be clear-eyed and not allow unlawful anti-immigrant overreach to result in a broader suppression of our constitutional protections. Just this week, we've seen the elimination of temporary protected status for Haitians alongside the dangerous targeting of judges' abilities to stop plainly unconstitutional policies. Our government is not just refusing to welcome those fleeing danger, but it's choosing to send people to countries that same government has warned Americans not to visit due to risk of significant harm. It is hard in the face of such hypocrisy and unrelenting cruelty to see the way forward. But for now, we urge members of the House of the Representatives to use their vote to strongly denounce these policies of brutality and say no to this big, ugly betrayal, and continue to stand with communities across America who are saying no to racist and violent targeting of our neighbors. Human Rights First will continue to fight this bill and others like it. We will continue to show up for refugees, immigrants, and their families in the courts, in detention centers, and on the front lines where we will see the true devastating impact of this legislation. And we will continue to welcome with dignity the most vulnerable newcomers to our nation in accordance with U.S. law and who we are as Americans. Thank you.
Thank you, Ezra. So you've heard it. We're not giving up. The bill has not passed us yet. I'm hearing my colleagues are getting more and more calls of constituents that are saying, why do you care about billionaires more than my grandmother who voted for you because you promised that you would make her life better? So for those of us that are here, we're about to wrap up this press conference. You make sure that constituents around the country keep making those calls to Valadeo, to Gabe Evans in Colorado, to John James in Michigan. There are many of our colleagues in that building right there, in that air-conditioned building that they're in right now, while they're talking about what they're going to do on 4th of July to celebrate, that they need to be hearing directly from you. Shame on you if you're celebrating the ending of health care of my grandmother, my sister, my brother, my mother, or my father. We will not stop. And we're going to continue to obstruct while we go in there, while you continue to organize here. Because the reality is, and you said it so beautifully, while they have radicalized our community and weaponized government for hate, we are going to radically demonstrate what love looks like, what connection looks like, what organizing looks like, and we will not stop. Whether it is immigrants, whether it's trans rights, whether it's Palestinian lives, we are fighting for everyone in this bill, in this place. Let's go, and let's go vote hell no on the betrayal bill of Donald Trump. Thank you, everyone. Gracias.